before God changed the world. He chose a boy who didn't even believe in himself. Hey, if you're new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button because we tell Bible stories that will genuinely change how you see God. Now, let's get into this. Imagine being a teenager, maybe 15 or 16 years old, sitting quietly one ordinary day, and suddenly you hear the voice of God calling your name. Not your parents' voice, not your teacher's. God. That is exactly what happened to a young man named Jeremiah. And the first thing Jeremiah did? He said no. Well, not exactly no, but close. He said, I don't know how to speak. I'm too young. And honestly, can you blame him? Because what God was asking Jeremiah to do was not small. God wasn't asking him to sweep the temple floor or carry someone's bag. God was calling this young boy to stand before kings, leaders, and entire nations and speak his word. To be a prophet. Now here is where it gets interesting. God didn't just decide to use Jeremiah on that ordinary day. The Bible says in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, God told Jeremiah something that should stop all of us in our tracks. God said, Before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Let that sink in. Before Jeremiah took his first breath, God already had a plan for him. Before his parents gave him a name, God already knew his name. Before the world ever saw him, God had already chosen him. This was not an accident. This was not a last-minute decision. God had been preparing Jeremiah even before Jeremiah existed. But Jeremiah still felt the fear. He still felt small. He still felt like the wrong person for the job. And maybe you know that feeling. Maybe you've looked at your life and thought, I'm too young. I'm not ready. There are better people out there. Why would God use me? Jeremiah felt all of that. But here is what God did next. And this is the part that gives me chills every single time. God reached out, and he touched Jeremiah's mouth. And he said, I put my words in your mouth. God didn't argue with Jeremiah. He didn't say, You're right. Maybe I should pick someone older. He didn't dismiss the fear. He just met Jeremiah right where he was and filled him anyway. Because God never calls the perfect. He calls the willing. And then he equips them. God called Jeremiah young because he wanted to shape him. He wanted someone who hadn't yet been hardened by the world. Someone whose heart was still soft enough to carry a heavy message with compassion. Someone who would grow into the calling, not just walk into it already finished. God wasn't looking for a finished product. He was looking for a life he could work through. And Jeremiah said yes. Not because he suddenly felt confident. Not because the fear disappeared. He said yes, while still afraid. That is real courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward even when your hands are shaking. And Jeremiah went on to become one of the most powerful voices in all of the Bible. He spoke truth when it was dangerous. He stood firm when no one wanted to listen. He wept for his people. He never stopped. They called him the weeping prophet, because he carried both God's heart and the pain of a people who kept turning away. He was not too young. He was exactly on time. And here is the lesson that I want you to carry with you today. Whatever God has placed inside of you, it was placed there before you were born. Your age does not disqualify you. Your inexperience does not disqualify you. Your quiet voice does not disqualify you. God is not looking for someone who has it all figured out. He is looking for someone who is willing to say, Okay, God, if you say so, I'll go. Maybe today you are sitting in your own ordinary moment, and God is calling your name. Maybe you've been saying, I'm not ready for too long. Jeremiah's story is proof that God's timing is perfect, and his choice of you is not a mistake. If this story moved something in your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because we have so many more stories just like this one waiting for you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what is one thing you feel God has been calling you to do, but fear has been holding you back? I would love to hear from you.